Ever since the entire item system was reworked in late November for Season 11, players have been experimenting around the clock to find the best builds for every champion, and so far we've seen a few items that have been noticeably stronger than others, namely the Mythics. Early on there was the overpowered Sunfire Aegis, which gave tanks so much sustained damage that it gave us some semblance of the old tank meta back in Season 6, or maybe even worse. We've had games where there would be people building Sunfire top jungle and support since they were just infinitely better than every other option. It provided health, armor, magic resist, and ability haste, which is just about everything you need on a champion. Poor Amumu probably caught the worst of the nerfs since he was able to convert that bonus magic damage into true damage, but Exil already made a video on him a couple weeks back. Shortly afterwards, we saw Eclipse being a favorable item to pick on just about any attack damage champion that used their abilities, from assassins to fighters to even champions like Jhin and Misfortune because they could get 2 hits in rather quickly. 2 very painful hits at that. The selling point with this item was that the Omni Vamp gave you a ton of lane sustain while also having one of the best immediate value in terms of item passives. It gave you a quick chunk of burst damage and a decently sized shield to mitigate any returning fire. It was definitely a very strong item across the board because it had so much early game value, and not that this wasn't established already, but this game is becoming progressively more and more early game focused. A couple weeks after that, there was the Imperial Mandate, giving rise to a small poke meta in the bot lane where we would see champions like Ashe and Misfortune take it to cheese so much damage for free. Supports would also become really strong with this item to the point where other mages were taking it like Anivia, Lulu, Seraphine, so on and so forth. Most notoriously was AP Maokai's support, whose saplings were full vision wards that dealt upwards of like 800 damage per sapling. It was ridiculous. Fortunately, that got phased out pretty quickly. The most recent one prior to now was Gale Force, basically giving anyone a second flash that could do as much as 500 damage. We started seeing this on Yasuo, Yone, Graves, Kindred, Kai'Sa, anybody who built crit basically because the extra mobility was invaluable, let alone the actual damage part of it. You could use it on champions like Lucian to double dash and catch people off guard. The cherry on top was that it worked every 60 seconds, you had a free flash every 1 minute. Aside from that, there were a few other smaller trends going on, such as Gore Drinker being super popular on the likes of Olaf and Aatrox, who could abuse it to heal all the way back up to full HP thanks to their health empowerments. At another point there was the double mask build, which was Liandry's Anguish and Demonic Embrace. You would straight up burn champions for a quarter of their health with just a single tick. Juggernauts have been making good use of the Stridebreaker Sterax combo to give them extra mobility and insane burst resistance. So far, they've done a decent job making sure no item was overpowered, at least not any one item. Riot's been keeping a close eye on how the items were impacting the game and making sure they were all balanced to the best of their ability. While so far they've done a decent job making sure no one item was so overpowered, they may as well have potentially opened Pandora's box once again to bring us Ardent Censer Meta 2.0. At the time of this video's release, we're seeing an increase of enchanter supports in the meta, which to their credit we haven't seen in a long time since most of Season 10 was all about Thresh, Leona, Nautilus, Pyke, Set, and Pantheon support, you know, the hard engagers. But over the months they've been giving token enhancements to champions like Lulu, Karma, and Soraka, giving them a bit more oomph to their heals and shields. And while most of the community has been looking at the mythics for the other 4 roles, not much attention has been given to the support mythics outside of Imperial Mandate. Locket of the Iron Solari and Shurelia's Battle Song haven't been the most useful items relative to their other counterparts, but one item in particular was able to fly under the radar, Moonstone Renewer. For the uninitiated, Moonstone Renewer bears some resemblance to Athene's Unholy Grail, which was removed before Season 11. It rewarded the champion with extra health on their next healing or shielding ability whenever they dealt damage to enemy champions. In other words, the more hurt you dish out, the more you can heal your allies for. Moonstone Renewer functions in a similar fashion, but probably infinitely better. Anytime you cast an ability on a champion, anytime you damage an enemy champion, whenever you're in combat, the allied champion with the lowest health will heal for anywhere between 70 to 100. This item does not require you to have an ability that heals or shields, it simply activates with any interaction on either ally or enemy champion every 2 seconds, with the condition that you just have to be fighting. It also provides you with 5 ability haste, meaning at 6 items you will have an extra 20 haste since boots don't count. 20 haste I believe is roughly 15% cooldown reduction, although it does scale multiplicatively, so you get diminishing returns as you get higher and higher up. As you already know, cooldown reduction is valuable to have because casting your abilities more frequently equates to higher uptime. The higher your uptime, the stronger you are. Some of you might think 70 to 100 health is not that much. A Soraka can heal for 500 health with a single W. But notice how the only stipulation you have to meet is to interact with either a friendly or baddie while in combat to trigger the heal. This means any champion can use this item. In fact, personally speaking, I've seen non-support champions run Moonstone because of how effective it is. Lilia, Aurelion Sol, even mage supports like Zilean and Vel'Koz. This combined with the gradual buffing of enchanter supports might potentially bring us a second Ardent Censer meta. If you've been playing ranked recently, you'll notice a resurgence of champions like Ivern in the jungle, Lulu in the top lane, and Seraphine in the mid lane. Although for Seraphine, she was already a viable mid laner to begin with, but just mostly as a support. Moonstone Renewer costs only 2500 gold. It gives 40 ability power, 20 haste, 200 health, and some mana regeneration. It's an extremely cheap item, with so much value provided to your team, and while Grievous Wounds is more accessible now, it doesn't counter heals completely, it only reduces them. Not to mention, it does nothing to shields, and it lasts only 3 seconds. And since Riot buffed those supports, whoever they shield will still heal a little bit even through the Grievous Wounds because you have to still break through the shield to start actually dealing damage. Sound familiar? Ardent Censer was so powerful because it not only gave attack speed to allies, but it also gave them on-hit lifesteal, essentially healing allies without actually having to have a heal. Moonstone Renewer takes this to the extreme. It doesn't give an attack speed steroid, but it has a much easier activation requirement since you don't even need to have a heal or shield ability. You just need to be in combat. Champions who are easily able to land attacks or deal consistent damage, such as Lilia, can build Moonstone without paying too much of a cost since you trade just a little bit of AP in exchange for being magnitudes harder to kill. One other thing that makes Moonstone such a broken item is that it also enables you to purchase other support items that benefit from healing allies, such as Staff of Flowing Water. It's another great item that's really good given how cheap it is. 2300 gold gives you 60 ability power, 10% heal and shield boost, some more mana regeneration, and it grants bonus move speed and ability power to both you and an ally whenever you heal them. Meaning for only 2300 gold you can get a 100 ability power item. For reference, the only other 100 AP item is Horizon Focus, and that costs you 3000. There's also Ardent Censer, it's still here, which is a cheap item to get as well. Since support legendary items are so much cheaper than every other, it also means you can get your mythic passive faster to the point where you see mid Seraphine or even jungle Lilia get 100 ability haste by 25 minutes and they can basically face roll all over their keyboard. At the current moment, it's sort of a cheese strategy but extremely efficient since you can get a mythic and legendary item for less than 5000 gold, while some other champions have to spend over 6500 to get the 2 item power spike. Again, still too early to say because only recently are players starting to understand how valuable this item is since everyone was distracted by Imperial Mandate, but this may be enchanter support meta all over again since we're starting to see utility champions going back into the mid and top lane and rushing 2 or even 3 Moonstones per team. Combine this with the fact that Riot recently did a damage-wide nerf to all items to prevent champions from being too bursty, and the signs are pretty much there. If there is an Ardent Censer meta 2.0, I don't think it's going to last as long as the first one because again, Riot is being extra careful in making sure this time around there won't be a super crazy broken item like there was back in the days of Banner of Command and Double Relic Shield. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a bit different from the types of videos I normally make, but I figure it would be an interesting diversion since this is also kind of a rant. I've had too many games where the enemy team was Ivern, Janna, Seraphine, or Karma, and I couldn't do anything because everyone was basically unkillable, so I was just venting a little bit. Anyways, if you'd like to support my channel, best way you can do so is like the video, leave a comment, share this with your friends, and subscribe. In the description below, I have links to my Discord, Patreon, and Twitch if you'd like to follow me on other platforms, but for now, that's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon for the next video. Take care.